So yes, I'm Wendell Robinson. I am the executive director at Restore Justice Foundation. Um, we are a statewide policy organization that advocates for fairness and compassion throughout our criminal legal system. Um, we work on I like to say we work in the deeper end of the pool. We have a specific focus. We actually advocate for people who received extreme sentencing when they were children. Um, as a child, I was charged, I was convicted, and I was sentenced to 35 years in life in prison. So the work that we do now is really near and dear to me because I know the work that I do, how it will impact so many people that I left behind. So that's just a little bit about me. I think the bio reads, I spent just over 25 years incarcerated. It was due to a monumental Supreme Court ruling, Miller versus Alabama, in 2012, that allowed me to be resentenced. And since I've been resentenced, I came home in 2018. So I think I've been home now just over 7 years, about 7.5 years, I'm sorry, and been doing this work.
Good afternoon. I'm James Swansey, and just like my colleague, I am the Associate Policy Director at Restore Justice. I, too, am a former juvenile lifer. I served 28 years in the Department of Corrections, came home about 4 years ago and immediately got right into the work due to relationships that I had built while incarcerated, namely with this brother of mine right here. So just came home and learned about the process legislatively and what it is that we can do to help people that we left behind more so, and started doing trainings. And that's ultimately how I got here today. So thank you for being here.
So first library. So with this agenda, we're going to cover, just give you a little overview. I gave you just a little bit of that. And then we're going to tell you how a bill becomes a law in Illinois, how the bill support. And most of these things are just best practices with Restore Justice. We have a presence in Springfield. Whenever legislators are in Springfield, mostly James are there. I go down with him, from time to time. But we do have a presence in Springfield. Whenever legislators are there, we just wrapped up the first half of the 104th General Assembly in May 31st. So we feel like we had a good first part of the session worked pretty good for us. So we proud of the work that we did this past session, and we hit the road trying to have a lot of in-district meetings now, just to build those relationships with legislators. Something that you'll hear just a little bit more about as this training goes on. And then we're gonna leave some time for some Q&A. Next slide, please. As I said, we work on state level policy, and we kind of focus on people who received extreme sentencing with their children. And we have a couple of family support groups too, because when people are inside, loved ones of people that are serving time, oftentimes not really understood, like what they're going through with their family members. So we've created a couple of support groups. We have communities and relatives of Illinois incarcerated citizens. This is a family support group that we have at Restore Justice that meet monthly, just for loved ones of people that's currently in our carceral system. Then we have a family support group for loved ones that have had their loved ones return. That's a different dynamic. After your loved one has come home, after being away for 20, 25, 30 years, just rebuilding those relationships can be complicated, but we create a support group for that. And then also we have a Return to Citizens Network. With this Return to Citizens Network, this is a group that we meet with monthly, the third Saturday of the month. And this is a space that we created for our system impact the community to where we feel like it's a safe space. It's a space that we provide for folks to share resources. Oftentimes we try and give people a tool in these spaces if it's digital literacy, financial literacy, something to just help system impacted folks acclimation be just a little more seamless. With this slide, these are our focus areas. At Restore Justice, we work on 3 areas. If it's sentencing reform, conditions of incarceration, and meaningful pathways to release. And I think the illustration shows like examples of, what is sentencing reform? Retro resentencing, accountability theory, post-conviction act, right? These are all things that we work on. And these are some of the areas that we have had the opportunity to work on. And then when it comes to conditions of confinement, our carceral system put people in solitary confinement right now in Illinois. You can have an indeterminate amount of time that you could spend in solitary confinement. International laws read that it is torture if a person spends more than 10 days in solitary confinement. But we have a state that has been sending people to solitary confinement for indeterminate amount of time. Personally, I know people that spent 20 years in solitary confinement, 25 years. I know someone currently in solitary confinement that's been in there over 30 years. So this is something that we feel that we have to work on. And then now, it's a thing where the Illinois Department of Corrections is trying to move towards mail scanning. What is that? That's a system that they want to implement where all of the physical mail that you may sit down and write to someone, if it's a card or if it's a letter, they would not get that original piece of mail. It'll be scanned and they will receive a photocopy. Personally, being someone that spent a long time incarcerated, mail helped me through in the darndest ways. If it was just having the opportunity to read an old letter or see a photo or just know that, I was in there with a life sentence and there was someone here that took the time to just write me a letter. I think that meant so much to me. So now we really want to preserve that for people that's in our carceral system. And then the last bucket that we work on is meaningful pathways to release. We want to create sentencing pathways and give credit for change, because the laws changed in the late 90s where people moved to more 100%, 85%, what they call truth in sentencing. But we like to talk about credit for change. With the truth in sentencing law that went into effect, people that were sentenced under truth in sentencing, they weren't getting like good time. No matter how many classes, no matter how many, or they're not getting good time. No matter how many classes they take, no matter how much they invest in themselves while they're there, they're not getting good time. So we bring in some legislation that credit for change. We want people to have the opportunity to show who they become and be rewarded for that. So those like our 3 focus areas that we work on, sentencing reform here in the state of Illinois. And I'm going to pass it to James, and he's going to give you start to talk about how bills become laws in Illinois.
So basically, I just want to talk to you guys about how bills become laws in Illinois. And I just want to let you know that it's a very, very strenuous process. It's a lot of people that you have to talk to. It's a lot of discussions that you need to have. Next slide. So we just don't jump right into it. And I just want to give you guys a little overview of the districts. And this is like basically an Illinois period. And these are just numbers that we like to let people know of. Like every representative is responsible for over 108,000 people in their district. That's a lot of people, right? And there's 2 representatives for each district. For each district, there's 1 senator. So for the senators, that number doubles. That's 216,000 people that they are responsible for, more so. And that's a lot of diversity. It's a lot of different areas. Like Lynn was speaking towards earlier, you have the city people and then you have the rural aspect. So it's a lot of different issues, right? You have people that can call, people that will email these legislators. And as long as you have an address, they are responsible to you. So this is just an overview that we like to give of people just to let you know how many people that legislators have to deal with in their district. So overall in Illinois, there are 177 legislators. You have 59 senators and you have 118 representatives. Now, each one of these individuals are there to represent you. If you have an address, you have one representative and one senator that is directly responsible, that represents you. These are individuals that you can write, you can call, you can talk to them, because you are what we all like to call a vote. And that is literally what they do it for. They're responsible for you. So they have to take the time out to listen to your issues. And we just like to let people know that legislators are people just like we are. They're elected to make the laws, and we are, it is our responsibility to influence them with these laws. So that is why we do these kind of trainings, to let people know what it is that is available to them and what they can do. So like I was saying earlier, the reason that we do it is the math. No matter what it is that you're trying to do, no matter what kind of law you're trying to pass in Illinois, as you can see during the regular session, you need 30 senators to say yes to whatever it is that you're trying to do. And remember, I said it's 59 of them. So you have to have a majority of that aspect, right? And in the House, you see that number goes up. It's 60 people in the House that you have to get to say yes to what it is that you're trying to do legislatively and trying to pass a law. And as you see, when it says veto override, you need those numbers actually go up even more, because veto is a session after the regular session. Anything after May 31st in the Senate, you're going to need 37 votes. That's 7 more than you would need during the regular session. And in the House, you're going to need 71. So you got to add 11 people in the House that you have to talk to. And that's a lot of discussion, right? And these are all legislators that come from different areas. So it's different things that are more important to certain legislators in certain districts. So those are numbers that we just like to let you know about. So now I'm gonna hand it over to Wendell, and he's gonna talk a little bit more about the players in this game.
So as players, we have in the House, we have the leadership. If it's Manuel Chris Welch, he is the leader in the House. You have Senator Don Harmon. He is the leader in the Senate. And then, of course, you have the governor. So this first box, the gray box, is like constituent. You know, oftentimes we hear that word, right? But working in Springfield, doing a lot of in-district meetings with legislators, this is a word that has so much power. Like when you say that you are a constituent of a elected official, it really gets their attention, right? So if you have like issues that you want to champion, or as James was saying earlier, different ways that you want to reach out to your elected official, lead with that. Let them know that you are a constituent of theirs, right? And then you have the red, like proponents, and you have opponents, and then you have stakeholders, right? Like these are just a couple different categories that different people fall in. If it's like, proponent, like you with whatever it is that you for, should I say. Opponents, you're yes, and then some of the issues that we have, different people fall in different areas. I need a stakeholder. So these are, like I said, if you ever want to do any advocating, if you ever, reach out to an elected official, please lead with, particularly if it's your elected official, please lead with it that you are a constituent of theirs. It gets their attention. They really want to hear what it is that you have to say. Next slide. Okay. And then it's like, here's the calendar. Like, oftentimes, session begins, at the beginning of the year. And then this year it started, January 8th. And then as I said earlier, session just ended, May 31st. But, it's not on this slide, but, we have, 2 weeks of veto session coming up in October. And, I think it's like the second and third week of your second and last week of October. But these are the times that you have to be mindful of these calendars, knowing where they at, particularly if you want to reach out to your legislator. Oftentimes, if it's during session from January to May, typically your legislator is in Springfield, from Tuesday to Thursday, right? And that'd be a good time if you understand their calendar, and if you're trying to get some time with them, just knowing where they are. And then I feel like the other parts of the year, like now, this is probably one of my favorite parts of the work, right? When legislators aren't in session, and it's not to say that we don't have to do work, but when legislators aren't in session, then we get the opportunity to go out and talk to them in their district. And this is where the real relationships are starting being built. If it's us coming down to, to different parts of the state, going to different parts of the state, but we can have an audience with them, they can have the opportunity to see who we are, what it is that we're doing, and then just hear our stories, right? Because one of the things that we are learning to be a game changer in advocacy is just the art of storytelling. Once you arm yourself with the art of storytelling, you start to change hearts. And once you start to change hearts, that's where the minds start to be changed. And I like to say we have these conversations with people that may not see things the way that we see things, but we don't have any bad conversations. We try and go into these meets with whoever it is, just on with good energy and, hopeful about whatever the outcome may be. And oftentimes with us working in the deeper end of the pool, we understand that everyone is not going to see things the way that we see things, right? But as long as we are starting those conversations, people are hearing our point of view and then seeing like what long-term incarceration can look like. You can let people out of prison. The sky not going to fall, none of that, right? And then people are going to come home and, people can come home with the right type of support. They can they can have significant contributions in what's going on. So, just a little bit more context, but I'm going to pass it back to James
just to give a little bit more context about what Wendell was speaking on as far as the regular session. As you can see, the regular session started January 8th is when the session began. But as you look at this slide, you see a whole bunch of dates that have deadlines on it. So we just like people to know that while you're doing advocating and you're actually trying to change laws, it is a timeline to what it is that you have to do. So these discussions that you're trying to have with these legislators, they're really important. As you see, soon as you come in and the session starts, you have a deadline 16 days later to make it out of LRB, which is Legislative Reference Bureau. And this is where the bill, the actual words get turned into bill form. So this is the very most important part, because if you don't meet this deadline, then there is no other deadline that you will have to be worried about. So we just like to let people know that this is something that is very important, and you have to follow these aspects and pay attention to these dates because they are very important and when it is that you're trying to get legislation passed. So it's 5 basic rules, or I guess you could say ways that a bill gets passed, as you see. But it's a lot that goes on in between them, right? I think the first and most important thing is that you have to find a sponsor, because only a legislator can file a piece of legislation. We as constituents cannot file bills. Only a legislator can do that. So one, that's why it's the most important. And you also want to find a legislator that, knows what it is that they're doing. Somebody that's going to fight for your issue just like you're going to fight, right? You don't want somebody that's going to not work on what it is that you're trying to do. And then the next step is your legislation is assigned to committee. And basically what that is whatever issue that your legislation is about depends on what committee it goes to. By us dealing in criminal justice reform, our bills go specifically to the Judiciary Criminal Law Committee in the House and the Criminal Law Committee in the Senate. And this is a very important aspect, because this is the opportunity where individuals who support this, such as you guys, will be able to fill out a witness slip. And basically what a witness slip is, it's an online way to show support without having to be physically present in Springfield. And this is something that you can do. You can go on to the ILGA website, hear a little bit more about that a little later on in this presentation. But that is a very effective way. That's something that legislators pay attention to when they're trying to pass these things out of committee. And then after your bill passes out of committee, then it goes to the chamber, which means that all the legislators in that chamber get a chance to vote on that. So hopefully if you've done your job and you've had those discussions that you need to have and the bill passes that chamber, that's the third step. So, and then the fourth step, after it passes one chamber, the fourth step is that it goes to the opposite chamber and it goes through the same complete process all over again. So you have to have those same conversations. You have to have those same deadlines. You have to have those same committees. And ultimately, if you do what it is that you're supposed to do and you're very passionate about that, then you'll get to the fifth step and it passes. And then the governor signs it. And then ultimately it becomes into law. Like Lynn was talking about earlier, you have a smart policy idea, right? Like trying to bring some kind of goodness down here, right? And you want to make that an idea and you want to take that to a legislator, right? So that's the first step. You have a smart policy idea and then you build those good relationships. Like we have a lot of those in the room today. It's a lot of good relationships in the room today. So you add that and then the hard work. And then as you can see, the big red question mark is the external factors and the unknowns. In Springfield, we like to say that the winds change on a daily basis. So what you may expect to happen may not always happen. And sometimes it's not always a good thing, right? Sometimes it's just things that are out of your control that you can't do. And I like to give an example when it comes to this, like those 30 votes that that we need in the Senate. More so, if you feel like you have those votes and then it's come time for your bill to make it to the floor and you need those 30 votes and all of a sudden 2 people had emergencies, right? Those are things that are out of your control. So you really can't do anything about that. But that's just something that we like to let people know. And then, of course, the deadlines that I was just talking about. This is like Wendell said, the best practices that we know, if you have this formula and you can do all these things, then ultimately the outcome will be a positive piece of legislation that ultimately can help somebody that you are trying to help or that needs the help. So, and in all actuality, the best way to find things out about legislators is doing your homework. There are ways to find things out about legislators without being in front of them, without having to ask them a question. You can do the homework. More so, as I was saying earlier, you can go on to ilga.gov. It's the website with any legislator in Illinois. It has all their information from their bio to where they went to school with, to more so if they have a spouse or children. And it also gives you information on what committees they are and what they feel most important about. So that's definitely a way that you can find out. And as you see, you can go to their donor list on Illinois Sunshine. And this is very important also because it shows you who they get their money from. And that is a very important aspect because you may have a legislator that says that they believe in what it is that you're doing. Like we deal in criminal justice reform. So when we go on that Illinois Sunshine and we see somebody that supports us, but at the same time, they're receiving money from the FOP or they're dealing with the Chicago police, then it's not really a good idea for us to be more so in cahoots with individuals that are crossing the line when it comes like that. So these are all things that you can do to take your time and find out about legislators if this is something that you feel like you can do. And of course, Google and social media. I know nowadays more legislators have Facebook pages because they want their constituents to know that they are out and about in the community. More so if they have events, they like to put that on Facebook also. So these are just ways that you can find to get involved, to continue to do the work. And it definitely works. This is something that we pride ourselves on in doing, and legislatively, just to make sure that we know what it is, that who we're dealing with, and knowing that our issue is going to be as important as any other issue to the legislators. So I'm gonna pass it over to Wendell, and he's gonna talk to you a little bit more.
Yeah. So now the activity, right? You can reach out to your state representative or your state senator. If it's write a note, introducing yourself. Telling them what's important to you. Thank them for their service, because that's something that oftentimes that folks don't hear, right? And then it's just like tell them again what you care about. But these are just different ways. They are approachable. If it's a handwritten note, if it's an email, or if it's just going by the office and trying to meet your legislator, you have that right. They represent you. You are a constituent, which is really important. And then it's like, it's a couple things that you can do. Like at Restore Justice, we have an advocacy team, right? But this advocacy team, we do a few different things with the advocacy team. We have an action team, for our 501c4, that meets weekly, just for a half an hour, during session. We're able to give folks updates as to what's going on in Springfield when it comes to criminal legal reform. But please, if you will, connect with Restore Justice. We always looking for folks to just broaden our base. And if there's issues that we are champion that resonate with you, we would love to have you join our if it's our action team or our advocacy team.
So just to give a little bit more context on the advocacy team, that's something that I'm involved in very heavily. And what I like most about it is it's a way for people to stay involved without really being involved. We come together every Friday during the regular session for 30 minutes on Friday, and we give people updates on what's going on in Springfield, whether it's with our legislation or if it's with somebody else's legislation. So that's a very big part of what we do. It's how we grow our network, and it's how we gain resources. So, but the next steps and what it is that we would love for you to do is to identify an issue, right? I think we all can identify an issue in dealing with criminal justice reform, more so than just talking about the carceral system in itself, and connect with an organization like Dale was saying, Restore Justice. And no, it doesn't have to be Restored Justice, but we would love for it to be Restored Justice. Just for that aspect, right? That, we are deep in the aspect of what it is that we, advocate for, and do your homework. And that goes back to that slide where I was saying, as far as going to the ilga.gov website, you can go on Facebook. There's a lot of things that you can do to find any information about legislators that you are trying to look for. It may be specific issues that you want to search out. And that's where that homework can come into play. You never know what you may find out. And then ultimately, we always ask people to reach out to your state representative or your state senator and letting them know, if nothing more, thanking them for their service, letting them know that you are a constituent, letting them know that, this is something that you are going to be getting involved with, and this is something that you can start building that relationship with. These are just ways that you can stay involved, and it's really exciting, actually. It's something that I never really thought that I would see myself doing while I was incarcerated. I came home and I got a chance to go down to Springfield and learn the process. And in that process, I more so found that my lived experience held a lot, right? Nobody could challenge the 28 years that I did while incarcerated. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we like to tell people. Stories are strong, right? Narratives change people's minds and hearts. And that's one of the biggest things that we like to tell people. And I know that's one of the reasons why I do it myself, right? People look and see my journey and what it took for me to get here. And now I'm here doing this and giving trainings and letting people know how they can be effective. And that's something that, I definitely have taken a liking to. I love what it is that I do. That's why we're here today, just to let people know that you can be effective in the way that we are effective. So that's our presentation, but we would also love to take time to answer any questions that anybody has in the audience, more so about anything.
Have you guys had any successful any bills successfully go through and get passed? Or is that something you're actively working on right now?
Yes. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, we have in 2019, Restore Justice was behind a piece of legislation that brought the first parole opportunities back to Illinois since 1978. For individuals 20 years and younger, after serving a certain amount of time, you will be able to have your sentence reviewed. So as of today, right now, we keep track of that. That's actually been a part of the trip that we were down here doing. We just came from Springfield to see a youthful parole hearing. And it's been, I want to say like 13 people that has actually come home from that legislation. So that's definitely a big deal.
And Judy's gonna be next.
And also, something that the organization was started off of in 2023. We actually passed a piece of legislation that abolished juvenile life without the possibility of parole in Illinois.
When we was boots on the ground, both of us was boots on the ground for that.
The same sentence that we once served. So we definitely have had some wins, but more than anything, I would like to say that our progress in Springfield is becoming more and more. You know, the more that we show our face and the more that we're down there doing the work, I think it just pays dividends and it builds that collateral and that and the things that we need to continue to do what it is that we do in Springfield. So we have been successful.
Yeah, definitely. Yes.
I have a question. Do you know if Illinois has a app like a flashballs app? You know, it's an app that you get on your phone, and it identifies, you put your zip code in, and it tells you who your representative and your senators are.
Yes.
And then it identifies issues, and their phone number is right there, and all you have to do is push the button, and it will call, you know, whoever you want. But that's for like federal government. Does Illinois have something like that? That would be.
We do have a site that you can enter your address. You can put your address in there, and it'll let you know all of your elected officials.
Yeah. So actually, that same site that I've been talking about, ilga.gov, that is the site that you can go to. More so, I wish I could show you. I think after this, I'll take the time to actually personally show you how you can navigate that. But you can go on that and find out exactly who your legislator is if you do not know. That's something that we also let people know if they don't know when we do have their email address and everything. So that is something that we can let you know.
No question, but I just want to say it's great work. You need to hear that.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you very much.